It's a very rare condition, but they find their way to me. Somehow they find their way to me. So I see it all the time. Once a month I get a new one, or once every 2 weeks. So I see new Janson Foot all the time. Okay, so now I'm in the workshop and I'm gonna start working on the plaster cast of the patient with Janson's foot. So this is his left foot, and this is the one that's really hurting him. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna alter the cast to help his foot feel better. And just to review the problem, and what the problem relates to how I will alter the cast, is Janson's foot. I made up the term, obviously. My name is Janson. But it's a very rare foot condition. So what it is the main big portion of a certain tendon called posterior tibialis inserts into a certain bone genetically in a different position from where it should normally. And that could be because the bone where it's inserting is a different shape. But if the location of the insertion is a little different, it makes that muscle weak because it doesn't really have a good grip on the foot. And that tendon is really one of the most important tendons in the function of the foot. So if it's not functioning right, the patient will have flat feet because the tendon picks up the arch. So the patient comes into acute Janson's foot with terrible arch pain. They usually come in with crutches and cam walking, walker boot, and frequently they're told that they need surgery on their foot. They're going to have their foot fused because the patient has tried everything. You know, they have lots of orthotics. So, you know, the last thing they want is another pair of orthotics. But they're so desperate. They've had injections, all kinds of injections. So that doesn't work. Cortisone shots work for a week or so, but that's it. So how do we fix this? Here's the irony of it. You know, the tendon insertion doesn't get better unless it has blood supply to it, and blood supply comes with walking, and the patient can't walk. So that's why it doesn't heal. They can't walk on it. So I have to get them to walk on it. So what I'm going to do with the orthotic is I'm going to put the foot in a position so that tendon doesn't have to work. So the question is what is the position that tendon is trying to get the foot into? So here, you look at my foot. I took off my shoe and my socks so you can see what that tendon... So the tendon, like I said, it's tibialis posterior is the actual name. Everybody says posterior tibialis, which is wrong. But it's a big muscle, and it comes from the outside of your leg here. This is where it starts off, like near your fibula bone. It starts here, and then it's very deep muscle, and it goes behind your leg like this, and it curves around. And anything that curves is actually very functionally very strong, because a curve is strong, just like your tibia has a slight curve to it. So it curves around like this, and then it comes behind your ankle bone here, and then it inserts into the bone that's here, and this bone is called your navicular. The main portion inserts into the navicular here, and this is the bone that meets your ankle bone. And it's a really cute little bone. It looks like a boat, so it's like the Navy, you know, navicular. It has a couple of other little insertions around, like a Japanese fan, but the main insertion is into the navicular. And if the patient has an abnormally shaped navicular, then the insertion is in the wrong place, and that muscle is weak. So you can see how if I would pull it, it would make my arch go up, see? But if that wasn't working right, then your foot would be really, really flat. And so these people have super, super flat feet. You know, the foot touches the ground when they stand up. They also call it flexible flat foot, but flexible flat foot is a big category of problems, actually. But this, having the bone have an abnormal shape or a previous fracture, or even an extra bone, accessory navicular, all of those I call Janson's foot. So, okay, so let's go back. So the muscle wants to do that, right? So you see how my big toe wants to go down? You see? I don't know if you can see that. My big toe is trying to go downwards. Let me take my foot off the ground. So my big toe, when that muscle works, my big toe goes down. So we want the big toe joint, this is the big toe joint here. We want that to go down. And we can't put any material here because this is going to really hurt. So we have to actually make sure there's nothing, the orthotic has nothing under here. So you want to lift the arch, but you can't give any arch support. Ooh, that's tricky. So I'll show you how we're going to do that now on the cast. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add plaster to put the foot in the position that the tibialis posterior wants to go. So in other words, if the tendon doesn't have to work so hard, he won't pull on the bone so much. And with it's the pulling that hurts. So remember I told you that the big toe joint wants to go down. So, and remember on the plaster cat, everything's the opposite. It's because this is, you know, if it's high on the orthotic, it's low on the, if it's high on the cast, it's low on the orthotic. So you see I'm adding, and I already added a lot of plaster before this, but I didn't want the video to be too boring. So I've added quite a bit right there. Okay. And okay, here's where the navicular, here's where the tibialis posterior is inserting. Okay. So what I'm going to do there, so we don't want the orthotic to touch that actually. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add plaster there too. Oh, this is too watery. Wait, let me get more plaster. So, oh, you're going to have to edit that to make that look good. So I'm going to add plaster there. It looks like a lot of plaster, right? It is a lot of plaster. But the secret is you can't let the orthotic touch this spot. You need arch support, but this part of the foot needs a break. So we're not going to let this part of the foot work. And the way we do it is we make this high on the cast, and then it'll be low on the orthotic. Add plaster there. It looks like a lot of plaster, right? It is a lot of plaster. But the secret is you can't let the orthotic touch this spot. You need arch support, but this part of the foot needs a break. So we're not going to let this part of the foot work. And the way we do it is we make this high on the cast, and then it'll be low on the orthotic. And this is the patient will wear this orthotic for about a year. And, you know, this is a patient that can't walk. He's a young man. He's very young. He's 30, I think, or 32 or something. We have to do some serious healing of this poor foot. So he this never happens again. This is another tendon inserting here. And I'm making him work a little harder. So he's gonna help me out. He helps stabilize the foot. He's the antagonist. So I made this a little higher. So there's a little mechanical advantage right there. But I did that in the cast itself. You have to be careful there. You don't want to add too much there. So I did it in the cast, in the foam cast. Okay, look at how smooth that's getting now. See, and I added a lot of plaster right there, but it's smooth as pie now. So you can tell there's a lot of support, but you'll be able to tolerate it. And this is how you fix Janson's foot. But this is a lost art doing this work. Not too many people do this anymore. Actually, nobody that I know of. But in the old days, this is how they did it. See, I'm coming down here. So keep this high. Make this low. Make this low. Make this high. Okay. Doesn't that look pretty? That's going to make a nice comfortable orthotic. I have to smooth it a little bit.